Welcome to another episode on the show. You guys know I only bring top guests to my show. It's Hidden Secrets in Books once again, and today is a brand new day and a brand new episode on the show. And of course, today's guest is an author, as always, Neil Laird. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Neil, I would like you to introduce yourself to my audience. Let them know who you are. Let them know who you are here today.
Sure. I am a TV documentary by trade, TV documentary filmmaker by trade, doing historical, archaeological documentaries for BBC, Discovery Channel, National Geographic. I've been doing that since the 90s with a focus on ancient history. And it was only about 10 years ago where, through various machinations we can talk about, I transitioned towards fiction as well, keeping the day job, but using everything I learned in the field, going to Egypt and Greece and India and Iran and Turkey, and seeing things that aren't often seen on television or when you read a history book, that made me want to focus on fiction. So I'm sending out my third novel, Prime Time Troy, which is part of a series of a time-traveling TV crew that goes to the ancient past in search of these lost stories.
All right, thank you. Neil, so what is it like to make TV docs around the world? We see a lot of TV documentary and we love them. But tell us what it's like to make them.
Well, people always make it sound like it's so exotic, and it can be, but of course it's a lot of work as well. You have 7 or 8 days, you land somewhere in the Indus Valley in Pakistan, and you have to interview everybody and get the footage you need and wrestle it up and make people happy. But I love thinking on my feet, and I love problem solving. And that's really what you have to do when you're a documentary filmmaker. A lot of shows are pre-scripted, which means you kind of already know where you're going before you get there. But invariably, things happen not expected. A flood, a delay, an expert doesn't show up. One time when I was shooting in Egypt, I was doing a show about the Great Sphinx, about the restoration of the Great Sphinx. And while we were there, they discovered a lost cemetery of the workers who built the pyramids. So suddenly we're racing down the hill and we're telling a totally different story, far more amazing. You just never know what's going to happen when you're recording reality. I absolutely love it. But of course it comes with a lot of work and drudgery as well. You only spend, 2 weeks in the field, then you spend 8 months in the editing room shaping it. And that's a very different experience.
Thank you so much, Neil. So tell us what it's like to be a gay producer around the world.
Well, I caution say gay producer. I'm a producer who happens to be gay. I don't think there's any different, expectation or job that goes with that. But I talk a lot about being queer in my books because one thing I learned as I was traveling to these places, Egypt, Greece, and Rome particularly, which is kind of my playground, how much more open in many ways same-sex relationships were, how much more accepting they were of not just male to male, but female to female, transsexual, any other kind of relationship. There weren't even words for it in Greece and Egypt. It was just sort of accepted. And so it flies in the face of those who argue that we're always marching towards progress, that each generation, each civilization, each empire gets closer to a egalitarian and society based on equality and understanding and sophistication. Often it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
Okay, so what is the state of publishing today? And how does the indie publishing compare to traditional?
I mean, it's a 2 different beasts, but I chose ultimately to self-publish because I wanted to tell the stories that I wanted to tell. It's very frustrating for many reasons. Traditional publishing, of course, like any kind of art form, is being shrunk and being marginalized and being very, very cautious in what they produce, just like television. So when I wrote a book that I did not publish a few years ago, based on a trip I took to the old hippie trail, which is a bunch of Westerners who went overland from Turkey to India in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. Now, I didn't take the trail in full, but I met people in those places like Afghanistan and Iran. And one of the characters that I met in Iran was this amazing woman named Miriam. Now, Miriam had a sex change, and she was now a woman. She was from Afghanistan, but she moved to Iran. And it was fascinating to learn that in Iran, I don't know if it's still the case today, it probably is, they actually sanction sex change. And it's not because they're enlightened. It's because they feel as long as you're having sexual romance with the opposite sex, then it's not an affront to Allah. It's a fascinating double somersault backwards. But I say this because I put this character in one of my books. And when I started querying agents, traditional agents, many were horrified that I had the audacity, the temerity to create a transsexual Iranian character. They were saying it's not your stay in your lane. It is not your role to tell those stories. Only transsexual Iranians can or whatever. And it was deeply frustrating because first, it was a very positive experience, a positive character, but also, two, it was based on just one character based on people that I knew in my travels. And I became very disillusioned with this idea that I could only tell stories that somehow represent me, a gay white man from America. And, that's kind of boring. I focus more on gay characters in my new books because they're underrepresented. But that made me realize going forward, I want to self-publish. I want to tell the stories that I want to tell. So for better or worse, the Primetime Traveler series that is on Amazon is all me, warts and all. It's the story that I want to tell, the characters I want to tell. I'm very respectful, of course, the people who I've met. I'm not out to do a hatchet job on anybody, but I am telling the stories from Neil Laird's experience, and it's very liberating that way. Now, with that, of course, means you're your own agent, and you have to do all your hustling yourself, all the marketing yourself. But I know a lot of friends who are initially published and, they're still waiting on their books to come out 3 years after signing an agent. So it's a tricky thing. I would say to any writer, certainly try traditional publishing if you can. You may hit a home run and knock it out of the park straight away, or you may be frustrated like I was and realize we just want to get the bloody thing out there. The best thing to do is write the book you want and self-publish.
Okay, thank you so much. So, how has international travel changed in 35 years since your first backpacking trip?
Oh, it's changed exponentially. I took my first backpack trip. Now, I lived in London in the 80s when I was in college. I'll be 60 this year, so you can add the dates up. But my first real experience was backpacking through the Middle East, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Turkey in 1992 or so. And it's a totally different world. Back then, of course, there was no internet. There was no cell phones. What you would have would maybe be a Lonely Planet guidebook that says, go to Ahmed's guest house when you get off of Urfa, Turkey, you walk 6 blocks. And often Urfa's guest house had been closed for 4 years and they didn't update it. So it was very much an adventure. It was very much just winging it and see what you could do. And it was perfect for when I was 20. So you couldn't just GPS a place and say, oh, there's Ahmed's guest house. It's 300 feet, turn to right. The world has changed and shrunk so much. And often for the better. I'm not saying these are awful things, but for the spirit of adventure, the spirit of finding yourself as well as finding new paths forward. I am so glad that I came of age in the time before the internet and social media rode roughshod over everything else.
All right, thank you so much. Tell us how the rise of streaming changed TV for both the viewers and the people who make them.
It's a sea change, and so many people I know who were in the business, both on the network side and the production side. I did both. I worked for Discovery Channel for 12 years and have made over 1,000 hours of television in both capacities. It's so many people are out of work, and the reasons are multiple. The key thing is with streaming, you don't need 5 evenings of original programming. So Discovery Channel, Science Channel, Animal Planet, Channel 4, whoever it is. They now, if it's streaming, they just need, say, 2 archaeology shows, 2 natural history shows a month rather than 4 or 5 nights. So suddenly that means all the directors, all the production companies, all the hosts, all the cameramen, all the gaffers, they're all out of work. They're all vying for the same smaller piece of the pie. And budgets have shrunk too, particularly if you do what I do, what is called factual. We don't get the big numbers like, say, maybe competition or reality. My niece works on Love Island, and that's a phenomenon. She could work there for the next 20 years, probably if she wants to. But the problem she has is it's really hard for her as a younger person to get ahead because all the people like myself, twice her age or whatever, are vying for whatever job they get. So I'm an executive producer by trade, but I'll take that writing job if it's available, which is something I wouldn't have done a couple of years ago because it's slim pickings out there. And that's another reason why I've transitioned both to writing, but also I am now doing cruise talk lectures about travel and queer life. I am looking at doing my own tours of the ancient world, Italy and Greece and Egypt. focusing on my experiences, taking people to the places that I did, because television itself is a very, very different beast. And that's without even mentioning the rise of AI. The ultimate knock-on effect of that still remains to be seen. I mean, we are just getting into a total restructuring of media.
Going back to TV documentary, what is the most challenges or the most challenge you have faced while making a TV documentary? And what TV documentary were you making at the time you faced that challenge?
Boy, that's a tough one because there's a lot of challenges that go on. I'll ask you. I mean, I can tell you this story about getting dysentery in Egypt and being sick for 2 weeks. I can tell you this story about getting arrested in Spain, trying to sneak out of Gibraltar. I can tell you the time about getting chased by a bear in the Grand Tetons, Wyoming. Which one do you want to hear?
The most interesting one.
Let's see. I think in terms of, this is one that I tell a lot of my cruise talks because we do go to Gibraltar, and Gibraltar is a place I've shot many times. I was doing a very curious show there for History Channel, probably 10, 15 years ago. And the show was about some modern day excavators, really pirates in a way, who were with submersible crafts. They were finding things on the bottom of the sea that had been left behind. And they had found this amazing cache of gold coins minted by the Spanish government in the 1700s that went down off the coast, about 15 miles off the coast of Spain. That's international waters, which means anything down there, if you find it, is finders keepers. But it was a cache of millions and millions of 300-year-old coins. And of course, Spain wanted them back. And their argument was, yes, they're international waters, but because they have the king's face on it, it still belongs to the crown. It still belongs to the government. Now, I kind of wandered into this because I was in Gibraltar doing another show, the next show with these people. We're going to focus on a Barbary pirate ship that went down and excavated, and they're going to bring it up and look at it. But while we were there landing in Gibraltar, these people decided, the excavators decided to sneak all the coins back to Florida in the U.S. without telling Spain. Spain was pissed. And what that meant was we couldn't leave Gibraltar. That's British territory. So we had to get out of the sea. I'm on a very expensive shoot. I'm talking to executives from the History Channel saying, you've got 5 days. You have to get out to the wreck, set an ROV, remotely operated vehicle down there, get some images, do your interviews, and get back to New York so we can cut it and air it on October 3rd or whatever. I couldn't get out of the port. We were stuck in Gibraltar because the Spanish warned me, once you leave Gibraltar, you first have to go through Spanish waters to get into the Mediterranean. And that was their terrain. So we're kind of desperate. We spent a week in Gibraltar, and if you've ever been there, I can tell you it gets pretty boring after a few days. You see the monkeys, you see the rock, you see the tunnels built by the British, and then you're kind of done. Then you got another week of sitting around. So I made the executive decision, along with this Marine group, to sneak out of the harbor. Our goal was in the middle of the night, ideally when the Spanish Coast Guard, the Guardia Civil, was sleeping and not paying attention, we would sneak into international waters. And that's what we did. Now, this is a big research vessel, a multi-million-dollar research vessel. So in the middle of the night, we turned off all the lights, we kept the motor on low, and we just quietly snuck out of Gibraltar Harbor. And we were tracking it down. We could see that we're almost in, international waters. And as soon as we hit Spanish waters, 15 lights turn on, 15 boat lights, and we are surrounded by the Guardia Civil. Like tigers, they were lying in wait for us. They knew we were coming, knew eventually we'd have to sneak out because we're hemorrhaging cash. So they surrounded us, they took us on their little boats, they impounded the ship, and they took it back to Spanish port, not Gibraltar port. And they took me and my crew into up to Madrid or somewhere, and they arrested us until we gave them the footage, until we had anything on them. Now, we had no coins, and our footage proved that. But we literally spent a night in Spanish prison without any footage whatsoever. We had no idea if we were getting home, if we'd have a record or whatever. So we had a feeling they weren't going to, throw the book at us. It was the coins they wanted. But the ploy worked because ultimately the marine archaeologists gave all those coins back. And today they're all in Spain.
All right. Thank you so much. So if you could leave listeners with one message from this entire conversation, what would you want that to be?
Message to listeners?
Yes.
It may seem a cliche, but don't wait. Do it. If you have an idea, even more so than before, a lot of times you have to do the internship and work your way up and get a good CV. that still is important. But now with the democracy behind streaming and TikTok and Instagram and making your own things, you have a film, a small film, go out and shoot it. If you have a book, start writing it. Don't worry about going to the gatekeepers. Don't worry about trying to sell it to National Geographic. Don't worry about trying to get an agent for that first book. Just start publishing, start making films, because that's how you get noticed. As an independent writer, I spent a lot of time just talking to people on Facebook and doing talks like this, and again, the cruises and things like that, that groundwork, grassroots way of finding followers. And it can happen. But don't wait. Don't wait until you think things are perfect. Don't wait for the stars to align. Don't wait for someone to give you a perfect opportunity. You have to be self-sufficient. You have to go out there and do it yourself.
All right, yeah. Thank you so much for coming to Hidden Secrets in Books. Thank you for sharing your knowledge about TV talk documentation, TV talk production, and sharing your knowledge about writing. Also, for those who would like to connect with you and learn more about your work, how can they do that?
Yes, I mean, the best thing to do is you can go to my website, neillaird.com, NEILLAIRD.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. And that allows you to actually, if I don't know when this airs, but my new book is coming out in 2 weeks. It's about ancient Troy. The TV crew goes back to ancient Troy and meets Odysseus and all the people that are like in the modern day movie that's coming out in a few days. You can get the book on there for free if you want to give a review. I mean, if you choose to review, or you can buy the other books on Amazon.com. Just go Neil Laird, look for my books. My films are all over. You can find them, I think, on Amazon Prime. My name is always way at the end, so you won't know it's mine until the credits roll at the very end. But chances are, if you're watching HBO or Prime and it's about Egypt or Pompeii, my name is on there somewhere, probably.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much once again. Thanks to all my listeners for tuning in. And you all do have a nice day. Bye, Neil.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.